Okay.
All right. All right. So, Tina, thanks for scheduling time to meet with me today. I've had a chance to look at everything that you've entered into Talent Ed as far as you're thinking about where you are currently for the 3 indicators, and then just some ideas or some tentative plans about goals and strategies
Right.
and things that you'd like to work on across the year as improvement targets or growth targets within this. And so let's just kind of start easy, if you will, and just I'm curious about your general impressions of doing the self-assessment for the 3 indicators. How did that go for you?
You know, it went well. It's very clear. There were times where I felt like in my head I could say that I'm here, I could do this, but then I would think, but what evidence do I have to support that? And so I had to really give a lot of thought to evidence versus my opinions on what I think I do well. And but as far as the format, it was easy to follow. It was easy to track where I thought I was. And I'll be curious to see how, as we calibrate, how close we are on our scores.
So a reflection that really had to move you past maybe some surface level thinking about your practices and their impact, and really look at the data that you might have.
Yes, and I would say it was easy for me to recognize my strength areas, and with the guidance of the form itself to really be able to target what I need to work on next.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so taking kind of those general impressions, let's just take a look at what you've entered in. We'll kind of just go through goals, overarching. I know you've entered in some information that kind of blends itself to SMART goals, but
Right.
let's kind of take it as overarching goals, and then what might be some of those strategies that you'd be looking at to help support that. And through that, I'll offer some evidence that I've brought with me
Okay.
to help assist with that calibration as well within that too. So, as we pull up your plan as you've entered it, if you will, one piece that starting with that targeted area or the target indicator of 5.2, just overarching, what's the goal, overarching goal that you're trying to achieve, and then what strategies have you thought about?
With 5.2, I feel like that's one of my biggest strength areas. And as I looked at that, I really did feel like I was over in that, getting close to, not there yet, but that I was in that proficient column and working towards the distinguished in that. I do work a lot with my peers. I do a lot of professional development with them and within the building. But what I realized is I don't have any evidence of impact as far as how is what I'm doing for my peers impacting their work and their performance. And so that would definitely be a next step for me.
So it's easy to pinpoint that next step once you took a hard look at it. And so as you were kind of thinking about that 0 to 7 scale, you indicated within your work that you saw yourself as that solid 6. So
Yes.
very much consistent in those indicators under proficient, but a next step for you would be that push to get that impact to move you across from there. And so what was the evidence that prompted you to think about that?
When we think about our universals and the universal supports that our district pushes so strongly, I submitted actually a picture format that encompassed several things. Pictures of my rules and my routines, a picture of the parent newsletter that I send out monthly, updating parents on how students are performing in the classroom. I presented a PowerPoint presentation that I've done for my peer staff in the building that includes the rules and the routines. And then I also, within that PowerPoint, put a link to the lesson plans that I use in the classroom when I teach those things. And then the last piece, as far as that non-instructional data for engagement. And so that's looking at how engaged are my students as a result of my routines, and then how much do they participate in class. So what's my participation rate and what's that engagement rate? Mm-hmm. And it's non-instructional, but yet it links directly to those routines. So that's what I submitted, those 3 pieces.
And as I looked at those, I was thinking to myself prior to, what might be some things I would contribute, and certainly like your newsletters and things of that nature. And I can see evidence of students when I have done some observations and walkthroughs as well. And so I've uploaded a couple of the walkthrough data sheets so that you would have that as well. And then was thinking in terms of too of how I might capture along the ways that might be a strategy, the feedback that from your peers. That they've given in terms of the supports that you've been able to provide them as artifacts as well. So it's prompted some thinking, some do's, if you will, on my part as we move forward too. So as you had marked kind of that area of 6, if you will, as being proficient, I certainly, between the evidence you've provided and what I was holding, certainly feel that 6 would be an appropriate place for you as your baseline score for that. And then in terms of the strategies you've outlined, to be able to move forward to that 7, I'm confident that if you put those things into place, and again with my due as far as to help support you in that as well, that within by the time we get to that April timeline of this year, April-May timeline when we come back together, you'll have evidence along the way and certainly feedback that would help guide that to reach that 7, if you will, or to put you in that distinguished category.
All right, thank you.
So as we think about your plan that's in here, you have your plan and your due within there. Before we leave here today, we'll take a final look through and ensure that there's nothing else we want to add to that.